Hi everyone, it's Plastic EP coming in from Melbourne, Australia. Let me tell you, I've got a special VIP guest coming in from Brighton there in the UK. Everything's okay. I got Ray Russell. He's one of the greatest session musicians out there. I don't want to give him too much of a rap. He's a record producer and he's a composer. The guys are great. That's all I want to say. He's played with a lot of great artists. He's played on albums with Tina Turner, Julian Lennon, things like that. But we'll get into that in a moment. But what I want to talk to you about, Ray, is this famous fretless guitar, the Beatles secret guitar. And the reason I know about it is because I was lucky enough to come across Paul Brett's book, Finding Fretless, and I want everyone out there to go and buy the book. And as we have the discussion, they'll get more into what it's about, and we want them to go out there and buy that. Now, the story is you were working on a movie, I believe, and what happens is George Harrison was there, and he ended up giving you this fretless guitar. So I'll let you take it up from there.
Okay, so the handmade films, which George started, he also started with a guy called Ray Cooper, a percussionist, who plays a lot with Elton John. I don't know if you're aware of Ray, but anyway, I did most of the movies with them, but the movie I was doing at the time was called Water, which Michael Caine was the lead actor, and it's just about finding water in the West Indies. Being it's the West Indies, everybody was out there except guess who? A few guys here that were doing the music cues. So when George came back, it was an incredibly nice guy. He bought this guitar and he said, "Listen, I'm not sure about this. I can't do much for this. We've used it a couple of times, but why don't you see what you can do?" And he just gave it to me. And so, roll on. I mean, that was 85. So I just used it now and again. And then 2000, 2000, suddenly Paul comes into the picture. Enter Paul, because he does a lot of charity things. And he wanted me to, raise some money for the charity. And he came and he saw the guitar. And he said, "Wow, that's amazing." And then it became kind of super sleuth, He just he just went and he found out all about it. But the first thing that happened was Antiques Roadshow was in Battle near us, a place called Battle, which is where the Battle of Hastings took place. Guess what? And he said, "Why don't you, just get it on telly?" And I sort of was a little bit iffy about it because I didn't, sort of want to enter that world of what's this worth. And I mean, I honestly didn't know. I didn't really think about it. But anyway, I phoned up and it was near 6, and I knew they all went over 6, the BBC. But, I said, this guitar and it's George Harrison. And they said, "Oh, we're pretty full up." Put the phone down. I was just 2 steps away from the phone, and it rang back, and it was a producer saying, "Bring it down, bring it down." It was like suddenly it all kind of went into a big deal. And so next day there we were, surrounded by lampshades and paintings, and they just sort of came. It was really fun. They just came up to us and said, "Guitar, yeah," dragged us into the kind of executive suite, and it all started from there really. John from the auction house from Bollham's, funny enough, and he kind of put a mad price on it, and then suddenly my head was above the parapet, and it got very strange when the local minicab driver asked me if I had any security in the house. And I thought, maybe it's time for somebody else to enjoy it. But it was on Helter Skelter and things like that. I mean, it's quite.
Now I've got to say this to you, Ray, if I can, right? I watch Antiques Roadshow, and they suggested a price up to £400,000. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
And then what happens is when you went to auction, what price did it actually sell for?
185.
Right. And I'm just saying, having this guitar, I'm just saying, obviously, money wasn't a concern. You thought what the guitar was worth. But what I'm trying to say is, what a surprise of a guitar that actually John had it first and then George. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's in a way more John's thing, but he gave it George, and as I say, they used it for like crazy overdubs like that. That brilliant Hell Skelter, and there's another couple of tunes. And
Happiness is a warm gun.
Yeah, Happiness is a warm gun. Yeah. I mean, when they went into the studio, everything came with them, all the guitars. It was like they just had a choice to pick up something and try it. It was they were so experimental. It was great, really. But so yeah, I mean, it can sound. I mean, I played it on the road show. I just played a little riff, which was sort of reminiscent of Come Together. So I thought, maybe I should make up something like that. And I just played it, and it kind of sounded really nice, But to actually get around it and play it is pretty difficult.
Ray, can I ask you, when you were playing, I'm just saying, knowing that the Beatles played it as well as yourself, did that guitar have a certain feel or feeling to it, or something special about it that you felt when you played it? Because I'm saying you must have played it a lot better than a lot of normal, a lot of people. That's the impression I get. Like you really could work the guitar.
Yeah, well, you have to be very careful. It's like playing a fretless bass, only the strings are thinner, so you've got a lot less chance to get it'll go out of tune quicker. You've got to find.
Now, I'm just saying myself generally, right? I'm thinking of a violin, because with a violin you got to find the actual notes where they are. There's no frets. If you don't find that note, you haven't got the note. That guitar is similar.
Yeah, it's similar. I mean, the thing what you do is, with guitars, like you play between the frets, you just make the string shorter and it gets higher. Very basic. But on fretless stuff, you actually have to put your finger where the fret was to get it in tune with other people. I mean, it's all right playing it on your own, but as soon as someone else, joins the band, you've got to be in tune. So that's the harder thing. So yeah, it's good. I mean, it's good for as they used it for, like on Helter Skelter, playing the different riff, and it's a cross between a slide guitar and I don't know, like a fretless guitar, and it it has its uses, but you can't use it on everything. But to your point about it was different, yeah, it was. I mean, when he gave it to me, I thought, oh, that's really nice, and I picked it up and played it, and it's great. If George Harrison offers you a guitar, you kind of say, great.
I mean, how many guitars get given to you? I'm just saying, the story with the Beatles and the guitar. I know there's a lot of everything in the book, and there's more information still to find out on the guitar.
Yeah.
But talking to George, did he talk to you in general about his guitars?
Yeah, I mean, he's got, many, as you've probably seen, from the book, the in the Friar Park, when they're all off to, he gets them all, or he got them all sort of serviced every 6 months from the guy in Denmark Street, or it used to be there. And they used to come pick them up and take them, and including the fretless, and just do it. But when I spoke to the guy, I can't remember his name, but I spoke to him. He said we could never do much with the fretless. We just kind of gave it back as it was, and it was always fine, So there you go. But it's always been special, But I tell you, once it came up as that kind of money, it wasn't the money that kind of titivated me. I thought, oh, that'd be nice. It's what it is people collect those things, and they're really, really precious. And it's been sitting with my guitars and not doing much. And in a way, I thought, well, it would be nice for someone to, who's a real fan to kind of have it and talk about the history. Because in a way, the book's more important than the guitar,
That's right. I totally agree. Anyway, now I want to tell everybody, at the age of 15, you started playing on the James Bond soundtracks. Now that's unbelievable, and you got to get into that story.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll tell you, is that in the days before mobile phones, you know, and internet, all the internet, you know, you got to remember we had the phone, right? And there was this magazine called Melody Maker. So a lot of people wouldn't know it, but basically it was actually quite good about people putting little things in about getting gigs. And there's this little article, I remember it, and it says uh, John Barry needs new guitar player, because the original guy was Vic Flick, and he and Monty Norman, who actually wrote the James Bond theme, a guy called Monty Norman, a pianist. It was one day John came into us and said, "Play me something dangerous on the piano." And so he went, ding, 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 Monty. He said, "Oh, that sounds good." And then John put the middle eight to it. So if you ever look at a James Bond film, when it gets right to the end, when everyone's left, you'll see it says James Bond theme written by Monty Norman. And anyway, so it said need new guitar player. I thought, oh, well, look, hang on, let me see. So I just made the call. I just phoned the number. I said, I really love to do this. Lied about my age, lied about everything, lied I could read music, all a terrible lie. And I got, like, my parents were really cool about it, and they bought me the greatest hits album of John Barry, and I learned it all. And I never thinking that the record player might be out of tune, because in those days, it was a bit hit and miss, but which is a tune. But anyway, so I learned all the tunes, went along to this place which was like a theatre, and we couldn't get in the theatre, and I was stood there with my amp and guitar, off the bus, may I say, and waiting. And they said, "Well, don't worry, play it here." So here was a kiosk desk open to the public, and all these guys standing around. So the sax player Bob Downs jumped over the kiosk and plugged me in. They put the music stand up, put the first one up, and it said the James Bond theme. So I played dun 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 because I knew it. Ding, ding, ding. And they said, "Oh, it's great. You know all the tunes." And they put something else up. It was a bit more obscure, but I reckoned on that. So I played that hit and miss, ding, 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 ding. Okay. So Bob said, "Hey, this guy's good. We could do this." So he phoned John, but John Barry wasn't there. He phoned John and said, "Listen to this, John. Play, John. Play the theme. Ding, 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 ding." He says, "This guy's good." And he says, Can you come on the tour tomorrow?" My mum and dad had kittens, man. Like, are you going to leave home now? Your age. But they were very good about it. And my mum packed loads of underpants and socks, thinking that's what I needed, And I was off on tour.
Unbelievable. Can I ask you now? You were with him right through from Thunderball to Octopussy, right, in 1983. So that's what, 1965, 1983. But I got to tell you, 1965, James Bond is the biggest thing in the world. It's like as big as the Beatles, and it's an event. Every time the movie came out, or the main soundtrack, like the theme song. I'm asking, did you play on all those theme songs?
Yeah, I play.
That is unbelievable, right there.
Yeah, the one with Carly Simon was very good as well. All Time High. That was a good.
Can I ask you, my favourite is Thunderball. I got to tell you, with Tom Jones. I want to know a little bit more about that one in particular, if you can tell me.
Well, it's really. I mean, the thing is, you didn't get a lot of time. Some people think that you get a lot of time to play these things. Now, on a movie score, you get say the whole movie can fit into the maximum of 9 hours, which is 3 sessions. Every session is like 3 hours. That's what the Musicians Union decided it was. So we played that. Now, when we done that, we had to play the tune, the actual tune that had been written especially for it. So everybody went to a different studio and set up and did that. and that had to be done in about an hour, which is pretty crazy. You can imagine, and that's it. So I don't remember much about it except that I sat up. I saw Tom, how you doing, man? You know, it's great. I saw the other guys and sat up and went, okay. And then by that time I'd learned to read, by the way, because they taught me. I used to get my guitar out in the back of a bus going to gigs, and they said, right, I'm going to teach you this now. So yeah, the game was up, you know, but they were very good about it. And they said, don't
And
worry.
I mean, you obviously went to all the premieres of the movies, didn't you?
Nah, never
You
get
didn't
invited.
go.
Never get invited. You know, we fix the wheels and make them go around, but we don't get to.
Okay, but obviously once it's on vinyl, I mean, that's the ultimate, isn't it? When you're hearing the soundtrack from the album,
Yeah,
from the film.
I mean, it is nice. You know, it's funny enough, Octopussy, you laugh, but you know, we did it with the orchestra, right? It was all live, and at the back of the it was Delay and Lee. It was called the back of the studio is a big screen where the conductor's looking, so everyone's looking the other way. But because it's Octopussy, what it kind of means, there's a big ship that comes in on the first scene and opens the front, and it's called the Leparius, right? So get that, you know, Leparius, you know, and everyone's ha ha. But everyone kept looking round at the screen, so there were all these mistakes. It took ages. In the end, it was like, right, we're having the screen off. We're not doing it, you know, because they kept looking around, seeing what it was all about. It's very, very funny. So yeah,
I got to ask you now about Shirley Bassey's song. How great was that one?
that one. What was that called? I can't even remember what it was called.
Tell me. There's so many.
Yeah, Burley Chassis. Well, she, hmm, you know, oh, it's just it's quite terrible really but she was about, you know, big time. I mean, the thing about the studio is, let me just put it like this. You know, it's a great leveler. Usually, people in the studio, you're all together. You know, when I mentioned that Tina Turner track, Let's Stay Together. When we did that, you know, she's just there and she's very friendly and she's just same as everybody. It's cool. It's no big time, but Shirley, you know, she was quite big time, you know. And
I understand. I got it. I got everything right.
very difficult to communicate. But Tina can make your hairs stand up and back of your neck singing. And,
What about Paul McCartney, Live and Let Die? That's another great one, isn't it?
yeah, I mean that one I played an overdub on. I didn't do the main track because he had his band, so I did an overdub on it, and I forget what it was now. It was just chords, jing, jing, jing. You know, just to make it heavier. Yeah. I mean,
Tell me what else you did with Paul later on down the track.
Well, I mean, I bumped into Paul 3 times and did some stuff, you know, with George Martin, and we did some stuff together. And it was like part of a kind of a kind of orchestral extravaganza, if you like. And we played at the Albert Hall and things like that. But I'm not on record with him, which is a real shame. But it kind of didn't get to that. I'm on record with other people in playing, but not his band, which is a shame. I'm
Now,
sure.
Did you ever mention the Fretless Bastion at any stage that you got it?
Oh, the guitar. Well, yeah. I said that's good, and nothing really came. You know, didn't say much. The thing is, I don't think he probably remembered it.
He must have played it though. I'm sure he must have played it, given it a go.
I'm sure they all played it.
Yeah.
I'm sure they all played it. Yeah, but you know, it's funny that that there's a documentary out by Ringo. You know, and it's kind of very very interesting how, you know, they didn't really have a lot of time, you know, to play, you know, and it's quite interesting how they came about, you know, on they used to play in what they call downtime, where the studio happened to be empty all of a sudden, and they would have to go in and do it. And I mean, Love Me Do was like a 3-hour session, and that was it.
I heard with a fretless guitar, they just put in a locker, and if they need it, they just said bring out the special guitar, the secret guitar.
Yeah, that's right. That's the whole thing was like that. It was just all there, and they used to say, "Bring me that," bring me that or whatever. Can you get me that? And yeah, that was it. I mean, they used so many things. To actually find out what they used on everything is like near impossible. But I do know that, I don't know. I actually don't know who bought that guitar because you're not supposed to know. But I think it's great to have a bit of memorabilia that has, I mean, they had the same strings on. That's why I got it. So it has got like George's DNA on the strings, which is I kind of find very fascinating. It was all on there. But,
Now, Ray, I'm going to say, you're amazing, really. And I don't talk too much in your career because you just do what needs to be done when it needs to be done. And that's what really I'm impressed with, right? Because you're just like, the Beatles, when they did a song, they're like workmen, like in the coal mine. They just got down, did the job and did it. And you're similar.
Yeah.
But you've got so much talent. And in your career now, tell me currently, have you got any new music out or you're going to perform live? Just tell me now what's happening now currently.
Right. Well, currently is I've got a thing called Fluid Architecture, which is a new album, which is on a strange label called Cuneiform. But I do a lot of progressive jazz stuff, and you can get it on Bandcamp, or you can they still even make a CD of it, which is good. Yeah, that's my latest, which is about 6 months old, and I'm just working on bits and pieces now to make a new album.
And you want to play live now? You got an event coming up, or what events have you got coming up? I saw on your website.
Oh yeah, so the 15th of August we're down at the 606, and then the next month, and I haven't got the date for this, but it's we're at the Hive, I think it is, in Sutton. And then there's a gig in September, which is like a concert thing, which you're putting together, which is going to be actually a charity gig, but it's going to be a guitar extravaganza. So I'm going to ask a few very well-known people to come along.
Now listen, Ray, tell everybody your links, where they can find you on the net.
Right. So what you should do is go to rayrussell.co.uk for the website, which is always being updated. It's a job. It's a big job, but it's always being up. Or you can join me on Facebook. On Ray Russell. It's just got a look. I've got a group page there, and really you get more up to date stuff. Because I can just post it. Yeah, just join up. Just ask, and I'll click you on.
Fantastic. Now I just want to say to our very good friend Paul Brett, if you want to know about finding Fretless, learn all about the guitar, that's where you need to go, because there's a lot of information in that book, isn't there?
It's a great book. I mean, he did such a great job finding things out. He was, as I say, super sleuth. And I mean, what I said to him was, listen, if that guitar, if it sells, and it kind of sells well, I said, well, what we'll do is we'll both go to California and we'll find things out. We went for 10 days, had a great time, and ended up in a gig. And the two different families, sounds like Godfather, doesn't it? Heads of the 5 families. But it sounds the two different families sort of met each other, for the first time. The grandparents and that thing, and all the offspring. So it was a really, really unique event. Something that
Ray, I want to ask you, growing up and playing a guitar, right? I'm just saying, because you've done a lot of things, but who would you have loved to play with that you haven't played with, or maybe you have played with? But if you ever had the chance to, for example, to play with Elvis, are you a big Elvis fan?
I would have played with Elvis. Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I played with Cliff. That's really different, but it's a kind of, yeah. I mean, I tell you what's been nice is I've kind of met people that I was big fans of when I was younger, both. You know, I've always had a foot in two camps, like, you know, more sort of jazz progressive and the, you know, and the pop world. And I've met people that I've been fans of. I mean, like with the Shadows, you know, Brian Bennett and Bruce Welch, you know, and like those guys used to have those records, and I said, oh man, I used to listen to all your stuff, you know. And then, you know, on the other side, there's like, you know, a quick sort of 5 minutes with Miles, and you know, and various other people that I've done at the Montreux Jazz Festival. You know, Gil Evans, who wrote all the scores for Kind of Blue, and you know, Porgy and Bess and all that. I was in his band with Mo Foster and Simon Phillips, and yeah, that was fantastic. You know, it's so great to meet people that you're fans of and play with them. It's you know, it's monster, really.
Well, Ray, I want to thank you, and I'm just saying, to me, you're a legend. You're a legend for different things. For ending up with the guitar, for me personally, for playing on all those James Bond tracks, right, the main theme songs. To me, that's unheard of. You know, I've got boxes of the James Bond movies. I'm one of the biggest fans. They're just some of the greatest movies ever made. And I've got to tell you, because people don't understand, in the UK, it was like an event when a James Bond movie was released, because James Bond was like a superhero to the UK.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a spy. You know, it's like the biggest spy movie ever. No, it's great, and I mean that was all done. I mean, obviously some on location, but it was all done in Shepperton, you know, and in just outside of London. So it is a kind of very UK thing that they got together, you know, which is great, really.
Well, put it this way: in Australia, we all love James Bond, and even as a child, I remember getting the Corgi cars from the UK as they were being sold. Right? You see, we had, when I was at state school, we call it state school. In the US, they call it elementary school, because, as I said, when I grew up, you went to state school, picture of the Queen. Every Monday morning, you sang "God Save the Queen." You went to the newsagent, right? And they had the Corgi cars in the little boxes.
Yeah.
And I remember in the playground, you had the gold one with the ejector seat and the plastic guide.
Yeah, I've got
like James Bond.
Yeah.
Culturally, it's in pop culture embedded forever. You know, it's just part of everyone's life, and it fulfills it. It's entertainment plus.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you what happens with like petrol heads and people, you know, that love that. I know two people that have got, you know, look for that Aston Martin, you know, in something sort of like a wreck, and they just rebuild it. They're so committed to Aston Martin through it. I mean, that the sales went through the roof of Aston Martin. Everybody, I mean, it's a very expensive car, but and they sold so many with the Aston. And it's a great car, you know. So that, I mean, that's one of the things, you know, one of the kind of spin-offs. It's crazy.
The marketing never stops. Go on the net, go to eBay, you'll see how much James Bond stuff there is. Anyway, Ray, I'd like to thank you very much for being on the show.
It's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure. Great to meet you. And I hope I have been over to you know, to Australia, but it was about 20 years ago. But I hope maybe I'll come over again.
Well, if you come to Melbourne, definitely look me up. We'll catch up, Ray. Thanks again for being on the show.
Yeah, lovely. Well, thank you.